The town does not like to be remembered. It doesn't appear on most maps anymore. GPS signals weaken as you approach it. Phone calls drop without warning. And people who pass through almost never talk about it afterward. Those who do regret it. I didn't believe in cursed towns. I believed in exhaustion, coincidence, and bad wiring. That belief lasted exactly 9 nights. I took the night shift job because I needed silence. After my divorce, silence became the only thing that didn't hurt. No questions, no memories, no voices. The Redwood Pines Motel sat at the edge of Blackwood, pressed between a dead highway and a forest that never seemed to move, even when the wind was strong. 42 rooms, 2 floors, 1 flickering neon sign that buzzed like a trapped insect. The manager, Frank Holloway, handed me the keys and gave me one strange instruction before leaving. If the phone rings after 2 a.m., dati say rail. Don't answer room 911. He smiled when he said it. That should have been my warning. The first night passed quietly. A trucker checked in close to midnight. A young couple argued in the parking lot before disappearing into their room. At 1:48 a.m., the soda machine jammed and rattled like it was choking. At exactly 2:17 a.m., the front desk phone rang. The sound was sharp and sudden, slicing through the lobby silence. I stared at the phone as it vibrated against the counter. Caller ID flashed once. Room 911. I remembered Frank's words and let it ring. After a few seconds, it stopped. The silence that followed felt thinner, like something had been peeled away from the air. I told myself it was nothing. The second night, the call came again. Same time, 2:17 a.m., same number. Room 911. No one was checked into that room. I opened the system and checked again. The room was listed as empty, out of order, uncleaned. The phone rang longer this time. I answered. Front desk. At first, there was nothing. Then I heard breathing, slow, uneven, wet, as if air was being dragged through liquid. Hello? I asked. The breathing stopped. A woman whispered barely loud enough to hear. Is he gone? The line went dead. I didn't sleep that morning. I told myself it was a prank, a crossed line, an old recording left behind. But recordings don't whisper like that, and they don't sound afraid. Later that morning, I asked the housekeeper Marla about room 911. Her hands froze on the towel cart when I said the number. We don't talk about that room, she said quietly. Why? I asked. She shook her head. I don't clean it alone anymore. The third night felt wrong from the start. The motel felt alert, like an animal sensing danger before a storm. Lights flickered longer than usual. The hallway cameras froze on empty frames. The air smelled faintly of copper. At 2:17 a.m., the phone rang again. I answered immediately. Please, the woman sobbed. He's standing outside the door. My stomach twisted. Who is? I asked. She screamed, not loudly, like she was trying not to be here 70. The call cut off in the middle of her breath. I pulled up the hallway camera for room 911. At first, there was only static, then movement. A tall shape stood in front of the door, too tall. Its head brushed the ceiling light. The camera feed went black. I grabbed the master key without thinking. Fear should have stopped me, but something stronger pulled me upstairs. The hallway on the second floor was colder than the lobby. Each step echoed too long, like the building was listening. Room numbers passed slowly. Room 911. The door was slightly open. Inside, the room was dark. I pushed the door wider. There was no bed, no furniture, no carpet, only dark stains on the walls and deep gouges carved into the floorboards, as if something had been dragged across them or had tried to crawl away. Behind me, the hallway light went out. Something breathed. right behind my neck. A man's voice whispered into my ear. "She always answers eventually." I ran. I quit the next morning. Frank didn't try to stop me. He looked relieved. Before leaving, I asked him what had happened in room 911. He stared at the wall for a long time before answering. 10 years ago, he said, a woman called the front desk at 2:17 a.m. She begged for help. No one answered. She was murdered by her husband in that room. He paused. They never left. As I drove out of Blackwood, my phone rang. Unknown number. I answered, breathing. Then the woman whispered, "Thank you for coming, but he followed you." The call ended. I looked at the clock on my dashboard. 2:17 a.m. I didn't stop driving until the sun came up. Even then, I kept checking the rearview mirror, not because I saw something, but because I felt something, like the road behind me was still breathing. I told myself Blackwood was over, just another dying town with a bad story and worse timing. That lie lasted less than a day. At noon, I tried to look the town up online. Blackwood, Nevada, nothing. No town website, no Google Maps pin, no Wikipedia page, just a few old forum posts that ended abruptly. Usernames deleted, threads locked. One post caught my attention. "Does anyone remember Blackwood Motel? My sister worked nights there. She stopped calling. The replies were gone. I searched Redwood Pines Motel. Still nothing. It was like the town had been erased carefully, deliberately. That night, I dreamed of the phone ringing. I woke up gasping at 2:17 a.m. My phone was silent, but my voicemail notification blinked once, then disappeared. I didn't check it. I should have. The next morning, a man knocked on my door. He introduced himself as Deputy Ellis from the Blackwood Sheriff's Office. That alone made my stomach drop. "I was hoping we could talk," he said. "You don't work there anymore," I replied. "I know." His eyes lingered on my phone, sitting face down on the table. "You answered the call," he said. It wasn't a question. We drove back toward Blackwood. The closer we got, the quieter everything became. No radio signal, no birds, no wind. The town looked wrong in daylight. Buildings leaned slightly inward, like they were listening. Store windows were dusty but unbroken. Cars sat parked with flat tires and expired plates, like everyone had stepped out for a moment and never returned. The sheriff's office was open. Inside, the walls were lined with missing person posters. Too many. All from Blackwood. Deputy Ellis pulled out a box labeled 911 calls. Archive. He played a recording. Static, then breathing. A woman crying. "Please, don't let him in." The timestamp glowed on the screen. 2:17 a.m. The call ended with a sound I recognized instantly. A whisper. "She never listens." Ellis turned to me. "That voice," he said, "was recorded before the phone line was installed." My mouth went dry. He showed me police reports. Every 10 years, someone answered the call. Every 10 years, someone disappeared. Not died, disappeared. No bodies, no crime scenes. Just empty rooms and phones left off the hook. "What is he?" I asked. Ellis shook his head. "We don't know. We only know he's not tied to the room. He's tied to the answer." That night, the power went out across Blackwood. The motel sign flickered back to life by itself. Redwood Pines buzzed in the darkness. My phone rang. Room 911. Ellis watched me. "If you don't answer," he said, "he'll find someone else." I picked up the phone. The breathing was closer this time, not through the speaker, in the room. The woman whispered softly, "He's learning." Behind me, the motel hallway creaked. A door opened slowly. and something stepped inside Blackwood again. Breathing didn't stop when I hung up the phone. It stayed low, steady, like lungs that had forgotten how to rest. Deputy Ellis reached for his gun, but his hands were shaking. The motel lobby felt smaller now, like the walls had leaned in closer while we weren't looking. "Tell me you hear that," he whispered. I nodded. The sound slid along the walls, moving without footsteps. Not walking, not crawling, listening. The hallway door creaked open again. No one stood there, but the carpet sank slightly, as if something heavy had just passed over it. Ellis backed toward the office. "We don't chase it," he said. "We document." That was when the walls started whispering. Not loudly, not clearly, like voices bleeding through wet concrete. I pressed my ear against the wall behind the front desk. I heard my own voice from the night before. "Front desk." My stomach dropped. The wall answered back in the woman's whisper. "Is he gone?" I pulled away. The walls were remembering us. Ellis explained it in the office, flipping through yellowed files and audio transcripts. Every witness heard something different, but always something personal. The building didn't create voices, it collected them. The motel wasn't haunted, it was a recorder. At 2:17 a.m. the recorder played, and something came to listen. We checked the guest rooms. Empty, every bed neatly made, every TV unplugged. Room 911 was no longer empty. A chair sat in the center of the room, facing the wall. The carpet beneath it was wet, not with water. On the wall, something had been scratched again and again, until the paint peeled away. "Answer him." Ellis swallowed hard. "That's new," he said. The bathroom mirror was fogged. A handprint appeared slowly, pressed from the other side. Then another, smaller, like a woman backing away. The mirror cracked down the middle. We heard footsteps upstairs. "Running," Ellis shouted into his radio. No response. The radio hissed, then played a voice I recognized instantly. My ex-wife. "Why didn't you answer when I called you?" Ellis ripped the battery out. The footsteps stopped. Silence slammed into the building. We left the motel and went to the sheriff's house on the edge of town. He didn't turn the lights on. "They learn faster now," he said. "That's new too." He told me about the first call. Decades ago, before the motel existed, a woman trapped in a burning farmhouse dialed for help. No one answered. Something else did. It learned her voice, then her fear, then how to wait. The motel was built where the farmhouse stood. Concrete poured over ash and bone. A perfect place to store echoes. My phone vibrated. No call, just a text. "Unknown number." You answered. Now you carry it. Outside, something walked across the porch. The boards bent under its weight. The door handle turned slowly. From the hallway wall behind us, a familiar whisper rose again. "She always answers eventually." And this time, it wasn't talking to her. We didn't sleep that night. Not because we were afraid to close our eyes, but because every time we did, something else opened its eyes instead. The sheriff's house creaked constantly, even when no one moved. The walls ticked like cooling metal. Somewhere deep inside the structure, something tapped in slow, patient patterns. Ellis sat at the kitchen table, replaying old recordings through a handheld player. The tapes were labeled in fading ink, dates going back 40 years. Every tape had the same mark burned into the plastic, a deep scratch, like a fingernail pressed too hard. The first tape played static for nearly a minute, then a woman sobbing. "Please," she whispered. "He's in the house." A man's voice responded calmly. "Ma'am, stay on the line." That wasn't a dispatcher. That voice didn't belong to any human I'd ever heard. It sounded like someone trying to order off. That wasn't imitation, he said. That was practice. Near dawn, we heard a sound outside. A car door. Ellis froze. No one drives through here at night anymore. We watched through the curtain. A sedan idled across the street from the motel. Engine running. Headlights off. Someone sat inside, not moving. The motel sign flickered back on. Redwood Pines. The phone rang inside the motel lobby. We heard it from across the road. Ellis grabbed his gun. "Don't," I said, but he was already walking. The front door of the motel was open. The lobby lights were on. The phone rang again. "Room 911, Ellis answered. I wish he hadn't. The breathing came through the speaker, loud and wet. Then silence. Then Ellis said softly, "Yes, I see him." His eyes glazed. He walked toward the hallway. I followed, screaming his name. Room 911 was open. The chair was gone. The bed was back. Someone was lying in it. Ellis stepped inside. The door slammed shut behind him. I heard him scream once, then choking, then nothing. When the door opened again, the room was empty. The bed was neatly made. Ellis's gun lay on the floor, warm. The motel phone rang. "Room 911, I answered, shaking. The woman whispered calmly now, "He sleeps here." I looked at the bed. The mattress sank slightly, as if someone invisible had turned onto their side. Something brushed my arm. I ran. By morning, Ellis was listed as missing. Just another poster on the wall. The town didn't mourn. It prepared, because now the room was occupied, and it was watching me sleep. Night fell like a shroud over Blackwood. The motel sign buzzed in the dark, flickering violently. The air smelled of iron and wet ash. Every shadow stretched longer than it should have, reaching toward me like fingers. I was no longer running from Blackwood. I was running for me. I didn't know if I was alive or already part of it. The phones began to ring all at once. Hundreds of lines screaming for attention. I answered one. The woman whispered, terrified, "He's here." I knew. I had always known. I ran through the halls, doors slamming shut behind me, walls breathing, pulsing, tightening around me. I reached room 911. The door was open, inviting me. Inside, the bed was made, pristine. A figure lay on it perfectly still, not alive, not dead. I realized then it was waiting for me. I tried to back away. The walls groaned. The floor shifted under my feet. The phones continued to ring. I picked one up. The whisper was calm now, almost gentle. "Come to bed. You've learned enough." The room expanded, ceiling rising, walls stretching. The bed grew large enough to swallow the hall. I ran, but the hallway bent back toward the room. I screamed. The walls answered. The floor answered. The ceiling whispered. Everything was watching, learning, teaching. I fell onto the bed. The mattress swallowed me like water. The last thing I saw before darkness took me completely. A reflection of me in the ceiling, smiling. Not mine. Morning came. The motel was quiet. The phones were silent. Room 911 was empty. No one saw me leave. No one will. Because now I was part of it. And tomorrow someone else would. The next night, Blackwood waited. The motel sign buzzed again. A sinister heartbeat in the dark. Every street, every house, every phone line pulsed with the same rhythm. It wasn't just a building anymore. It wasn't just a town. It was everywhere. I stood at the edge of the highway looking back. Redwood Pines Motel rose from the trees like it had never left. I knew I couldn't escape. The phones rang. Hundreds, thousands. I answered one. The whisper was familiar. "She's here. He followed you." I ran into the motel. The walls breathed. The floors groaned. The shadows moved faster than light. Room 911 waited. The bed was made, inviting. I tried to resist. I screamed. I ran. I fell. I woke up in bed. The clock read 2:17 a.m. The phone rang. Unknown number. I picked it up. Front desk, I whispered. The voice on the line was mine. "Thank you for answering," it said. I looked in the mirror. Not my reflection. Someone else's. Someone waiting. Someone patient. The town had taught me. The motel had recorded me, and the call had already been answered. Outside, the sun rose over Blackwood, but the town was not done. It never would be. Every night, every answer, every voice, it waited for the next one, and I would teach them, because now I was part of it. I had learned, and America would remember my voice, because it would echo through the phones, the streets, the walls, forever. The line went dead. The clock ticked. 2:17 a.m. and the phone rang again.